point of this video is that critical race theorists do not say the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy, because, like, find me a critical race theorist who says that. Maybe Kimberly Crenshaw says it, but James Lindsay acts all the time as if one particular race theorist, critical race theorist, whichever one he mentions at the time, which is convenient to mention to prove this ridiculous, that someone has this ridiculous worldview that he claims and believes this ridiculous point. I'll say, for example, Kimberly Crenshaw believes the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy, and then you'll look at practically every other critical race theorist, and not a single one of them agrees with her about that. Derek Bell sure as fuck doesn't, and some anti-racists don't either. So, like I said, for example, he's conflating critical race theorists with anti-racists here, because the anti-racists get lumped in together with the critical race theorists, but for the most part they're more reasonable, like Derek Bell, and they mostly talk about legal theory and their civil rights laws and shit like that. And then the anti-racists are the ones who, for the most part, disagree with the critical race theorists, think the critical race theorists haven't gone far enough, and they're the woke ones, who, some of whom believe that the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy. But not even all the anti-racists, rather, agree about that either, and they disagree with each other. So, for example, Ibram X. Kennedy, there's this recent scandal with him, right? He's one of, like, the unholy trinity of leaders of anti-racism. I would say it's Ibram X. Kennedy, Robin DiAngelo, and Ta-Nehisi Coates. And he is slightly less woke than Ta-Nehisi Coates and Robin DiAngelo. She is the wokest of all of them. He himself has said that he's never even read any critical race theory. So obviously some of these anti-racists were not even inspired by critical race theory and are not even familiar with critical race theory. Like 1 out of 3 of the holy untrinity of anti-racism, or the unholy trinity, I should say, of anti-racism. So the point, as I make a lot here, is that you're focusing on the wrong target. The target is anti-racism, and it's not even anti-racism as a monolith. It's a lot of anti-racism. Like, anti-racism, I would say, is mostly bad, but critical race theory is actually interesting. Look at my series on Derek Bell's Silent Covenants and read the book yourself. You can read it for free online on the website called archive.org. So check that out, and I think some of it is really interesting. So yeah, critical race theory is not evil. Some of it is, I don't know, some of it is cringy, some of it is better than others. I've mentioned before too, for example, Derek Bell, his book Silent Covenants I like, but then he also has a book that I think is bad called Faces at the Bottom of the Well. So obviously, as there always is, there's variation between different books of the same critical race theorist, and that's the same for other critical race theorists. Each individual race theorist has good and bad books, better and worse books, just like all authors, and they agree and disagree with each other. Like Derek Bell, for example, he's more of an incrementalist for sure than Kimberly Crenshaw, for example, right? But I don't think a single race theorist accepts incrementalism, and more importantly, like I said, this is the key distinction. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a single actual critical race theorist who thinks that who literally thinks that the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy. Maybe Kimberly Crenshaw or someone like that, maybe one or two, but, like, seriously, at least 90% of critical race theorists, I'm going to go on a limb here and say at least 90%, do not think that the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy. That is bullshit and just simply not true. The ones who believe that society is that the fundamental organizing principle of society is white supremacy are the anti-racist anti-racist. They're the cringy woke people who have bullshit jobs and teach people sensitivity training courses and get paid millions of dollars by corporations to tell white people that they're racist. Like focus on focus on Robin DiAngelo, Ibram X. Kennedy, and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Like these critical race theorists actually sometimes have interesting things to say.